We've had 3 seasons and 66 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so far, so we thought it was time to give a top 10 episodes of this series. Look, it took a little while for S.H.I.E.L.D. to sort of find itself, but once it did, it offered a lot of really fun, entertaining stories, and so we're going to go over the very best of them. Let's start out with number 10, The Things We Bury. This is from season 2, and really a time where the show is really, I think, hit the ground running in the second season. This is where we found out who Sky's mom was. We were still calling her Sky, S.H.I.E.L.D. We didn't know a lot about her yet, but we were getting a lot of the pieces that the Inhumans were coming, and this was another big one of them. This was also where Coulson met Sky's dad, the Doctor. We didn't know who else he was, and really was showing how great Kyle MacLachlan was in this role. Lots of fun stuff here, and I think mostly this episode stands out as being a lot of great setup for the Inhumans and the full reveal of what was coming. And then there was the fact that Ward kidnapped his own brother in this episode, and we saw kind of how far Ward was willing to go, because by the end of this hour, he basically seemingly killed most of his family. Number 9 is the season 1 finale, actually, beginning of the end. A lot happened here. This was sort of the culmination of the Garrett storyline, where he, finally was taken out. This also had a big appearance from Nick Fury, which I think a lot of us thought was going to be a cameo, but he was in a lot of the episode and really kind of helped pass the baton, named Coulson the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. This also had a really cool fight between May and Ward, where May kicked his ass. This involved her using the nail gun through his foot and the throat punch at the end, sort of a great comeuppance for Ward here. And it was also the episode where Simmons and Fitz were nearly killed, a very emotional sequence, I thought, that really took these characters that didn't start out so great to a very emotional place. Number 8 is Space Time. This is from season 3. This was a big setup episode, because this is when Daisy saw the big vision of what was going to happen at the end of the season, the fact that someone was going to die, it was going to be in outer space, and really pointing towards where the season was going to culminate. It was also a good episode as far as a character of the week. This Inhuman that she met who had this tragic ability was a pretty strong introduction, and obviously in the same episode he was taken out. And also I want to mention this episode because it had that really cool fight rehearsal where they use the fact that they have these visions to choreograph how they're going to take out the bad guys. It was a really kind of interesting, almost meta look at how you execute a fight sequence on TV. Number 7, this is a big one, Turn, Turn, Turn from season 1. This was the episode that changed everything, quite literally, for the show. This was the Winter Soldier episode, the one where Hydra was revealed to be inside S.H.I.E.L.D. all along, kind of running the whole show. It really took S.H.I.E.L.D., which needed a boost at this point, and gave it to it as we finally saw what was really going on. Most crucial here was the fact that, okay, Garrett was Hydra, that was important, but Ward being Hydra, that was a huge reveal for the show, taking one of the original 6 members of the team who all kind of started out pretty bland, Ward being one of them, and showing no, nothing is what you expect, and Ward actually was a lot more interesting now that we found out he was evil, and he killed Hand and some other people along the way, and really quickly showed he is playing for keeps. Number 6 is season 2's One Door Closes. This was an episode that had the S.H.I.E.L.D. team taken over by Gonzalez's sort of other S.H.I.E.L.D. team. I don't think that story ended as strong as it was at this point, but this was a really great episode for it. Things moved really quickly here. Everything, once Coulson found out that Bobby was kind of spying on him, it didn't wait. Right away, Gonzalez's team came in. And also, kind of following up on what we were just talking about with Turn, 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 there were flashbacks here to the events of the Winter Soldier, what was happening for Gonzalez, Mac, and Bobby when they found out Hydra was part of S.H.I.E.L.D. that I thought worked really well. Number 5 comes from season 3, the episode Closure. This was the big one as far as, personal stakes are concerned, because this is when Ward killed Roz, and right when she and Coulson were kind of beginning a big romance. Again, underlining just what a bad guy Ward is. He also kidnapped Fitz and Simmons in this episode and tortured Simmons. Just when you thought maybe the show might redeem Ward, they kind of proved here they would not. But this episode also explained his backstory better than ever, I think, and kind of what made him the man he is, who was a bad man, but they explained it without, I think, undermining it by redeeming him, and also showing that Coulson would go pretty far as he kidnapped Ward's brother to try to, basically up the stakes because Fitz and Simmons have been taken. Number 4 is The Writing on the Wall, another season 2 episode. This is when we found out pretty much the last reveals about what was going on with Coulson in the wake of him coming back from the dead. This is when he, looked into the other members of Project Tahiti and found out what happened to them all, and that we discovered that it was really blueprints he was writing on the wall. A really good episode as far as A, giving us reveals, and B, showing Coulson at his most unhinged. This is where he ordered his own torture, basically, to find out more answers, and really was pushed to his own limit. At the same time, this is when they were really elevating Ward out on his own, and he became very scary in this episode, making some threats to Bobby and showing just how far he was willing to go, and it seemed like he would back up those threats. Number 3 is season 2's What They Become. This was the mid-season finale, and a lot happened here. This is when they revealed that Skye was actually Daisy Johnson from the comics, that her father, the Doctor, was actually Mr. Hyde from the comics, and that they finally revealed that this is the Inhumans that a lot of people suspected, but that is what was happening here. Has Skye, or Daisy as we call her after this, got her powers, was exposed to the Terrigen Mist, and Trip died at the same time. So a huge episode as far as reveals, but it was just a strong episode too. It had excellent stuff between Kyle MacLachlan and Chloe Bennett, this sort of father-daughter reunion and how messed up he was, and yet he still loved her. And it was also an episode where Skye just walked up behind Ward and shot him, kind of, a nice subversion of what we expected to happen there, even though Ward did still live and get away. So really cool, exciting episode that also delivered a lot of answers. Number 2, a slight cheat here because this was actually a 2-parter, SOS. It did air together as a 2-hour block. It was SOS Part 1 and Part 2, but we're gonna say it's one episode, damn it. Season 2's finale. Maybe the biggest episode of this show has ever done. This was where we really found out exactly what was going on with Skye, or Daisy's parents, that Jiaying was kind of the bigger monster between her and Calvin. She just held it in better. She had a better mask on it. A lot of deaths here. She died, Raina died, several other characters of significance died here. This was also one of the best fights the show's ever done. Ward fighting Bobby. And some of the nastiest stuff the show's ever done has Ward, again, more torture from Ward, but he tortured Bobby, who, had to go through hell here. But lots of intense stuff. It ended with Ward, the new head of Hydra. It ended with the setup for the Secret Warriors. Coulson lost his hand. I think it gave you everything you want from a season finale. Last but not least, choosing a top 10 list can be difficult. The exact numbering, what makes it, what doesn't. The number 1 here was a very easy choice, actually. The episode 4,722 hours from season 3. It is, I think, quite easily S.H.I.E.L.D's best episode, a real standout. It was a standout on TV in general last fall. This was the one all about Simmons and what happened to her on that alien planet. It was a very unusual episode for the show, except for a couple of little cameos via either recordings or at the very end. It was all Simmons. She was the only series regular to have a large role in this episode. It was her and the character Will, who we'd never met before, played by Dylan Casey for the whole episode, and it was so good. It was highly emotional. It took, an idea that we've seen before, the person stranded alone on this alien planet or stranded with one other person, but did it exceptionally well. We believed in the plight that was going on here. We believed in the bond that was building between them. It also set up a love triangle that really worked. Look, on TV, there's plenty of times love triangles make you roll your eyes at what's going on. Here, this one felt very earned, and we could see what led to all this, why Simmons would be so connected to this guy and want to go back to save him. And that ending was so powerful with Fitz saying, I will help you rescue this person, even though he's basically the guy who's now blocking me from being with you. He means something to you. I love you. I'm going to go get him too. It just really succeeded this episode, and I think I say the strongest thing I can say about this episode is my wife was watching it with me, and she doesn't watch S.H.I.E.L.D., and she was completely grabbed by how powerful it was, all anchored by Elizabeth Henstridge giving an excellent performance. So that is the very best episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so far. Let us know in the comments what you think. Did you agree with this top 10, or there's some episodes you think should have made it in? Let us know what they are, and for plenty more on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., keep it here at IGN.